We can review from the Ingraham Angle segment tonight. New poll from the Pew Research Center on illegal immigration says 74% of the American public want better border security. 74%. Also on the subject of what to do about children from Central America who have entered the USA illegally, 69% of the folks say they should be allowed to join their families here. 28% oppose. In addition, 56% say the kids should be allowed to attend American public schools. 40% oppose that. Joining us from Washington, Laura Ingraham. So you surprised 69% believe the kids should be able to stay in the USA?
Well, I believe the poll used the word reunited with family in the United States. I'm pretty sure that was the wording. Look, Rasmussen had a poll out a couple of weeks ago that showed that America wants less legal immigration bill. They want that reduced, that they want basically believe illegal immigration is a threat to traditional values. 70% of Americans believe that. I think there's, to some extent, in some of this polling, biased wording, you could say that. But look, people, I think, when they answer these questions, the more specific you can get, the better. So if it's true that mothers and fathers are living in the country and somehow their children were ripped from them and then they cross the border, I would imagine people would say, yes, I want these children reunited with their families here. But if it's a second cousin and the second cousin is illegally in the country himself, would the number be the same? Probably not.
All right, but here's how I read it.
I don't think so.
Here's how I read the poll. The American people, most of them, are not taking this debacle of the kids surging into across the border. They're not taking it as the children's fault. All right, that's number one. They don't believe it's the fault of the children who are crossing the border illegally. Yeah. I think you would agree with that, right?
Yeah, of course. No, but who believes that? Yeah, I don't know anybody who believes that.
Okay, so it's not the kids' fault.
Yeah.
They're victims here. All right, so they get in to the United States, all right, and then they're sent to the second cousin, or maybe they know somebody.
Illegally here, Bill.
Right,
some of them are illegally here. That's not in the poll question, right?
So but I don't believe it would be much different. I don't believe it would be much different.
I disagree.
No, I don't think so. I think the American public would say, look, the kids have got to be taken care of. We can't just chuck them back across the Rio Grande into the Coyotes.
Well, first of all, Bill, they're not our children. We don't know if
but I think Americans want the kids to be protected by us. I do believe that.
Rasmussen poll, Bill. Rasmussen poll. Okay, Rasmussen's a pretty reliable pollster. 59% Rasmussen a few weeks ago said send them back as soon as possible. Okay, so we got two different polls saying diametrically opposed things.
Yes, that's true.
I don't know what the right final analysis is, but I do know that when you ask people whose kids actually go to public schools in areas where a lot of these kids, again, no fault of their own, are being dumped off to relatives' houses, and some of them aren't relatives, some of them are designated caretakers for these kids. The people whose kids are in these public schools, Bill, have a very different view of what's fair. I think at first we want to believe what is fair for the legal immigrants? What is fair for the American citizen children? Is it fair to them to have classes with 35 kids in them and stretched resources? So what's fair, what's compassionate? I think you have to do the analysis with really specific questions, and the more specific the questions get, the more revealing I think they become, and the more probably close to reality they are. So that's my take on the overall poll.
But there is no doubt there's a few things that are beyond debate. Number one, most Americans want a secure border. There's no doubt about that. The open border people lose big time across the board. They want the federal government, and the federal government could do it, all right, to build an apparatus on the border that stops people from coming here illegally, overwhelmingly. But also overwhelmingly, the people that are already here. The American public want them treated humanely. They don't want them forcibly deported. They want them to have some kind of chance to stay here in a legalized capacity. So both of those things are truisms.
I will add something to that. I think when you look at also almost all of the polls show that the direction of the support of the American people goes to securing the border first. I mean, really securing it, not the promise of enforcement.
Right.
That should be the main focus of the U.S. government. And Bill, every poll that I've seen, every poll shows that the public actually thinks the legal immigration numbers should not be increased and should actually be decreased. When you add up, should stay the same or be decreased. It overwhelmingly swamps the number of people who believe that the numbers of legal immigrants either should be increased. So, look, I think there's a lot of anxiety out there. No one wants kids to be,
no one wants kids
treated.
to be punished. That's right.
It's not their fault. But we have a lot of American kids. We saw that in Ferguson. A lot of American kids who are suffering in schools that are underperforming, communities that are stretched, and budgets that are tightened. How are we going to pay for all of this? That is also a legitimate question. I'd like to see the polling on that.
Ms. Laura, thank you as always. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. The Obama administration now